Señores, siguientes de Usala Media. Estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda, The Round Table, desde el corazón del barrio hispano en la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Niall Jacks at the board, manejando el tablero, and we have a special guest, Adonis Banegas from Concilio.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, good morning. So, um, first of all, some updates and some information about who you are. I know you have been around the community. Everybody knows you, but if anybody doesn't know you, so who are you?
Yeah, who am I, right? Well, I am a born and bred Philly boy. I have the opportunity to be the executive director of Concilio now. July will be 4 years for me since taking over, and it's just been a wonderful and humbling experience to be a part of the community that I've grown up in, that I've been a part of my entire life, and to be able to serve our community is something that's always been important to me. And prior to this, I've worked in other nonprofits, just doing anything from health education to workforce development, domestic violence, family strengthening programs, all throughout the city of Philadelphia. And I even did some work in Camden, New Jersey, prior to coming here. Different nonprofits, and just kind of working my way up the ladder of the nonprofit world. Started off doing the community outreach, being out there and
Sure.
educating youth on drug and alcohol and the violence around it. I did HIV prevention programming too, so I was out in the corners giving out condoms and doing HIV testing. And in every job that I went to, I kept growing and learning. And then, fortunately enough, like I said, 4 years ago almost, I joined Concilio. And even prior to joining Concilio, I've had a long history with Concilio. Everyone knows the cultural events that Concilio offers with Hispanic Fiesta, entering its 39th year this summer, as well as the Puerto Rican Parade, which is entering its 58th year. And the Concilio has hosted both of those events in its entirety. So growing up in North Philly and growing up in the Latino community, you were always connected to those two major events in some way, and myself included. So as a little kid, I was part of those events, and fortunately, got to experience what it was like in its heyday. And even in when I was in college, I was an intern at Concilio too. So prior to me finishing college at Penn State, I did a summer at Concilio when it was in the old building on 7th and Fairmont.
Right.
Everybody's familiar with 7th and Fairmont. If you didn't know about it, I'm sure you went to a party there at some point, a quinceañera, a wedding, a 1-year-old birthday, because that's what we had, the banquet hall. And 5 years ago, we moved the building to Front and Hunting Park, so we've been in that location for 5 years. And we brought in and we made sure that the hall was still a part of it. So even to this day, Concilio offers that community banquet hall that it's always had.
Okay. Now, community organizer is not a bad way to start working your way up the ladder. I mean, that's how Obama started. I mean,
Right.
so you have a chance to become president. At
You
some
know,
point.
sure, why not? But it's something that at this point we all seen that anybody can become president,
Right.
as long as you talk really loud. So I want to make sure that I'm focusing on our community and making sure that our voices are being heard, and that's the luxury of the job that I have right now.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. Find out why you're interested in any of the candidates. I don't know who you are for, but we'll explore that.
Okay.
It's the landscape is changing quickly since
Since
Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday, yes. All of a sudden, it's like only 2 or 3 left. Anyway, um, so tell us something. I know you said the Puerto Rican parade and other activities by Concilio, but as far as education, for instance, what do you offer? What do you
So
do?
Concilio historically has been part of the Latino community, offering just a wide array of social services. In fact, a lot of the other Latino agencies kind of got its roots from Concilio. Concilio has his formal name, right, is Concilio de Organizaciones Hispanas, so the Council of Spanish-speaking organizations. Its original name, and it was a space where people who were not receiving those services could come in and be geared towards receiving services for the Latino community. So in its time, it's done everything under the sun that you can imagine. But the Concilio of today, we primarily offer foster care and adoption services. So we go out into the community and identify adults who want to open their homes to kids in the community. Everything from adoptions where we help them become that forever parent that we call it, to offering our after school and summer program now. So we are at various sites in North Philadelphia where we go into the schools after school and offer a free program to the kids there from kindergarten to 12th grade. And then our newer program, and new is like already 4 or 5 years, is we work with the district attorney's office and the local police district for our victims witness services program. So we offer supportive services, case management services to anybody who's been victimized of a crime in the 24th, 5th, and 6th precinct, which is the precinct right off of Whitaker Avenue. And every month we get a group, a list of individuals who unfortunately have dealt with a traumatic experience by being a victim of a crime. And we reach out to them for assistance, for court accompaniment, for translation services, for helping them fill out applications, just anything that they need to get through this experience and to get them to the other side. Those are the kind of programs that we offer at Concilio.
Yeah, well, that's terrific because that there's a lot of focus right now on the reentry program. Focus on people who serve their time in prison and are trying to become members of the community again. And so this is the other side of that.
This is the other side of that, and obviously there's two sides to every service, and if individuals have done their penance, so to speak, and is trying to get back, there's definitely programs out there that support that, and we've been able to not directly support that level of service, but we have partnerships with local businesses that are looking for individuals who have a background and willing to hire them. So one of the areas that I'm looking to grow with Concilio is our workforce development component. In the past, we've had programs like that, like 20, 25 years ago, we used to have a partnership where we would teach people how to become truck drivers, and that was a successful program. I even have a personal friend who went to that program in the 90s and to this day is still doing that job. So it goes to show that these programs do help out individuals, and they're life-changing. So while we don't have that particular program this second, that's something as we go into this new decade of 2020 and beyond, those are the types of initiatives that we're looking to start. So how do we get people livable wages, get them opportunities to connect with businesses that they're going to be able to start there, but hopefully grow within those types of businesses. And for the past 2 years, for example, we've had partnerships with like UPS, and we've had job fairs at UPS where they're hiring on the spot, and they're giving people an opportunity, regardless of their background, to get into that field and hopefully grow within that. And they're really good at bringing people on a seasonal position, but if they work hard, if they show up on time, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, they'll elevate them and move them along.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that you like to see that it's actually productive what you do, to see somebody take a job and actually learn the trade, and so you have a friend who is in the trucking business. Because I was on the board in Congreso, which does a lot of the similar things you do,
Right.
different focus perhaps. And I also served on the board of YouthBuild. And they had sort of refocused their endeavors, because they were concerned that a lot of the people that were trying to get educated and help them get into community college and all that were coming back and taking menial jobs again, ended up working at Starbucks,
Right.
which is the whole idea, was to get out of that.
Right.
And find a new career or a new position someplace.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough and challenging world to find people employment when they maybe not have all the skills there, or they just weren't given the opportunity to finish school. But programs have been shown to be successful. It takes the right staffing, it takes the right mindset, and most importantly, that individual has to be ready to make a change in their life. We can't force a change on somebody if they're not ready for it yet. And in programs that are successful, they kind of let that person take the lead in their own life. You can't write a plan for somebody and think it's going to be successful. That individual has to write their own plan, and us as social workers, us as people in the community, have to guide them, have to help them overcome those barriers, but can't hold their hand, can't do it for them.
Yeah, your support system, but necessarily just taking them all the way.
Right.
Yeah, it takes commitment. And speaking of which, we have that opioid crisis in this city. Because a lot of people cannot get out of these addictions,
Yeah.
and no matter what people do. I just attended an event for Unknown Philly. They are committed to helping the people in their addiction, raising money for them, and they provide help. They prepare what they call compassion bags with all kinds of stuff for them, and so it's a great endeavor. But we are in this rich nation. There should be a better way to do all this. A lot of these people resist going to centers where the government supposedly offer them shelters, and they don't want to go there because they lose their little stuff they own. Sometimes they lose it, and there are problems with them. There are not enough beds for all of them. So why can't we have it?
Yeah, I mean, there's different opportunities that are out there right now for support. Concilio, as an agency, doesn't offer drug and alcohol prevention services or counseling. That's not our niche, and it's important for us not to dive into something that we're not experts in. What we do is support our agency brothers and sisters that do that work, and make sure that we have strong connections with them, so that if we do encounter an individual that needs that level of support, we know who to send them to. But in the bigger aspect of what's happening in this community is that, and this is just my opinion, right, but we need to have an understanding that not one remedy is going to fix the whole community. So what may work for somebody is not going to work for another group of people. So to say that there's just going to be this one plan and everybody's going to follow this plan and everybody's going to get healed at the end, it's impossible to think like that, because there's different levels of counseling that takes place. Some can be just medication. Some can be being placed somewhere else. Some could be just meeting with a counselor on a weekly basis, and it could be a combination of all of those things for somebody to find what that right remedy is for them. So as we start to explore different opportunities on how to overcome this crisis, we have to be open-minded that there's going to be different levels of support, different levels of remedies, and we have to be open about taking them in so that we can find a right balance in the community.
Yes. As you say, that's not your main focus. I mean, you probably don't. You have to deal with it, I guess, with individuals who actually join your organization or use your services.
And we're not immune to it. Like I said, we run after school and summer programs. Yeah. So the ones that are impacted the most, I feel, are the youth of our community. They are unfortunately becoming so immune and hard-skinned to seeing this in their everyday life that it gets hard for them to realize that this is not right. This is not the right way to live. You shouldn't be walking by somebody who's laying on the floor as you go to school. You shouldn't have to see that level of crisis and of trauma. But the reality is that it is happening. So within our after-school programs and summer programs, we do have those conversations with them. We do bring our partners to come in and talk a little bit more about what those interactions are and how to overcome those things.
Great, Adonis. We're in a conversation at Usa la Media, la Mesa Redonda, the Round Table. A conversation with Adonis Banegas from Concilio, talking about different things. On the other side of this commercial, we'll continue with the conversation. Now, Jack's at the board. Les habla Fernando Mendez. Regresamos en un momento.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps!
Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Señoras y oyentes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda del corazón del barrio hispano en la ciudad del amor fraternal. Una conversación con Adonis Banegas from Concilio. We're talking about the opioid crisis and the, off the microphone we talk about the fact that the city tried to put this what they call safe injection site in a neighborhood that very quickly rejected it, and there was such an outcry they canceled the plan.
Right.
It was like in 24 hours a complete reversal.
Yeah.
We're going to do this, and oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that because they failed to do an essential part. This is a very difficult thing to do under the best circumstances, and you cannot do that without consulting with the community at large and say, like, this is what we would like to do. What do you think of it?
Right.
None of that happened. All of this announcement that we were opening such and such a place where there are little kids in the building or in the area. The whole neighborhood was upset because you don't do that.
Right. And there's both sides to the conversation about whether it's an effective method or not. But to your point, inclusivity is something that is very much important to making change in a community, right? You can't just stick somewhere because you think it's best for the people without including the people. And the people spoke, right? The people spoke when it was something that they knew that they didn't want. They made sure that their voices were heard. And I think that's a benefit to them to say that their voices are still loud enough that they can make change. And if it's something that is going to be long-term in the city, hopefully lessons were learned on how to be able to implement something and making sure that people have that opportunity to voice their concerns and their opinions, regardless of what direction this new model goes into.
Well, the thing is, nobody thinks it's a bad idea to have it.
Right.
Rendell expressed the opinion that it's something that it's okay to do. The things how to go about it, and I think this was a bad decision. I don't know where it came from, but
well, and again, as I mentioned earlier, it's one idea, it's one method, but it also has to be connected with other methods. It has to have a case management side, it has to have a counseling side, it has to have prescription oversight. If people need that level of support, it can't just be one thing. It has to be kind of a wraparound opportunity of services.
But geographically, it just didn't make sense either. You try to do something like that. If you try to help them, it has to be in an area where you can find them. Otherwise, you're putting up the need for them to use transportation to go to this place. They have to use buses or trains or whatever, and they don't have money. You create another problem for them.
Right.
Thank you for your help, but how do I get there?
Yep. And you see it pretty blatantly in North Philly and how it slowly moved up from Girard to Lehigh to now Allegheny, and before you know it, where we're located at Hunting Park, we've kind of already seen, that population moving up more and more because they're looking for support, they're looking for resources, and it hasn't been found yet.
It's one of those things that that whole NIMBY, not in my backyard. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants that. But it has to be done. So, but consultation with everybody, all the people involved,
Yes.
all the politicians.
And we're not immune to what the changes are happening in this neighborhood. So it's who are we talking about? Are we talking about the new people that moved in, or are we talking about the people that have been here for 2 generations, 3 generations?
That's another thing.
And who's being heard the most?
That's right. It's a very thorny issue, but I'm glad it's not my problem.
Well, it's funny because on the way down here, I was talking to my dad. He came from Honduras almost 50 years ago now, and he set his roots down in Philadelphia, and he lived here for 30 plus years until he retired to Florida, and he hasn't been back to Philly in about 5 years. And I was like, if you drive around here, you're not going to recognize it. It's completely changed since the last time you were here.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have to see it to believe it, because I'm like, Fifth Street looks way different now than it did even 5 years ago.
Oh, wow. But no doubt that gentrification has done a lot to push the Hispanic community around. I mean, that was one of the Reverend Luis Cortez was complaining about that. So first, they pushed him out of Fairmount,
Right.
and pushed him east towards what is now Northern Liberties, right. and then from there, it's a push forward to the north. Keep going north.
Yes, and it's going to keep pushing up if there isn't a balance. And I've sat in those conversations with Reverend Cortez about what is our involvement, what is our level of commitment as nonprofit agencies to have a balance with definitely having the new structures and having the influx of money into the community. But where is that line drawn where the people who have been living here and own their own houses but now can't pay the taxes because of everything that's gone up? Where does that support lie?
Right. But we need a couple of things to happen for it to be taken more seriously, to be more effective for our community. We need more Hispanic representation where the power is. So there you are. You could run for city council.
I very much enjoy what I'm doing right now.
Come on.
And I want to make sure that when I leave Concilio, it's going to be at a much better place than when I came in. Not to say it was bad. We've been around for 2022 will be 60 years, so I want to make sure that it's here at least another 60 years.
Okay, but Adonis Banegas for city council. It just sounds good.
We'll see down the line, way down the line.
So this is what you have to do. If down the line you decide to do it, you have to come here. This is where you.
I have a lot of. I have my bucket list of what I need to accomplish at Concilio first, and I'm just getting started. So.
Okay, great. It's a great organization. I mean, I admire people who are in the non-profit organizations in this area, Congreso, Aspira, Concilio, a number of organizations that are trying to contribute to the community, and it's not an easy task. It's and we cannot fill all the voids,
right.
And that's quite obvious when you start working in an organization like Congreso, for instance, and every 10 years they have had let's look at this, let's see what we're doing and where we want to continue.
Absolutely.
Where we're going. And so you need to do that. You
Absolutely.
need to reassess your priorities. And one of the things that I was there for one of those occasions, and it was a realization that we couldn't do what you said. You cannot do all things.
Right.
So try to do the things that you're good at.
Right.
And that way you're more effective, I think. And I think
and it's important that we all do it right. In the nonprofit world, it's strategic planning, strategic alignment, and for us, we've been actually working on our plan for the last almost year into identify what the Concilio of today is and where's it going to take us for the next 3 to 5 years, and where do we want to speak up at, and where do we want to know that we're going to show support to other agencies, because we can't do it all, and we can't. Just because we're a Latino serving agency, say we're going to do everything Latino related, or we're going to support everything that's Latino related. It's like, where does our niche fall? And the Concilio of today is really around youth and families and and how do we serve them as best possible with our resources, with our programming, and be that voice and make sure that we're being heard around foster care issues, around after school program issues, about people being victimized of crimes. Like, we've identified what our niche is. It's now like, how do we continue to add different layers of support within those bubbles that we have, so that we can keep building it up and be able to bring more resources in.
Yeah, the crisis, that crisis continues, like poverty, housing, healthcare, all that stuff. And it's very difficult for an agency to do too many of those things.
Right.
So you most concentrate on the parts that you can be effective at solving. Yeah, what is it with the names? Like Concilio de Organizaciones Hispanas, right? And Congreso de Latinos Unidos. You guys couldn't find a short name or something?
Well, there's been rebranding throughout the years, but we had to be obvious at first, right?
Right.
People have to know who you are. And it's funny enough, with us having our roots in the Latino community, we have to continue to evolve and serve the people in our community, and that's not all Latinos. So we have to make sure that we're open, and that people understand that we're open to all communities.
Well, even the face of Latinos in this city is changing, right?
Of course,
I mean,
absolutely.
we are constantly evolving. It used to be a great majority Puerto Rican, no question about that. I mean, they're still a majority. But the people from South America, from Central America, Mexicans,
Right.
we have changed the landscape.
Yeah.
here.
And we have that responsibility to help the newer people to become assimilated and acclimated to what it's like living here. And I think one of the beauties of Concilio and what it does is having this fiesta that we do every year, because it's not one Latino culture, it's the Hispanic fiesta, Fiesta Latina. So we invite every Latino culture to be a part of it, through its music, through its food, through its cultural activities, and just a way for everybody to get together for 2 days and share their experiences about being here. Like I said, I remember being a part of it, and at 8 and 9 years old, I was holding my Honduran flag at the fiesta, and now to be running it and have my kids there who are half Puerto Rican and half Honduran, to stand there and see that connection. It's an intergenerational event that brings families together and continues that culture, because unfortunately, if we don't keep talking about it, we're going to lose it. We're in a generation now where our kids are not even learning Spanish, and if we don't teach them, they're not going to get it from anybody
Look
else.
what happened to the Cuban immigrants, the Cuban community. The new generations don't even want to bother with Cuba, or hear about Cuba.
Right,
They don't
right,
care.
right. So, even though it's a small piece of the year, it's a 2-day thing. This year's July 11th and 12th. It's a big piece, and it's a big opportunity to connect and to see just all the different amazing cultures that we have in the city.
Yeah, I want to talk about other activities, but what the Puerto Rican parade had some difficulties with the financing. I don't know what happened. I just hear rumors. I don't know. I don't know the problems.
So we're unique in a way. We're not obviously the only agency that runs a Puerto Rican parade in the country. There's Puerto Rican parades all over the country, but we're unique in a way that we are maybe one of a handful that is run by a nonprofit organization. So that's not our main thing.
Right.
It's a piece of who we are. It's not our whole thing.
Right.
So whereas other cities have a whole committee, have a whole year, have a whole backing of full-time employees that just focus on that, it's us. It's our staff that have 1,000,001 other things that they do in their work, and then we try to make sure that we're still honoring it. So it becomes a challenge to make sure that we're receiving enough funds to support it, enough attendance to support it. So there's always ways that we can improve it, and we put out call to actions for people to be a part of it, to come be part of our volunteer committee, to bring their groups, to find ways to fundraise, and it's only a phone call away or an email away if anybody's interested in being involved and sharing your opinions.
Yeah,
and
maybe on
ideas.
the other side, we're going to take another brief pause here. On the other side of this pause, you can give us information about how can people contact you. Están escuchando La Mesa Redonda, The Round Table, una conversación con Adonis Banegas from Concilio. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Niall Jacks at the board. Regresamos en un momento.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Señoras y señores de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table desde el corazón del barrio hispano en la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Mendez, now Jack's at the board. Estamos en una conversación con Adonis Banegas from Concilio, and so we're talking the Puerto Rican parade, and we're talking about the fact that you need help. So if anybody wants to help, he's going to give you information as to how to contact.
Absolutely. You know, we're always looking for entertainment. We're always looking for volunteers to come and help plan and organize and just be involved in such a rich event that has been part of the city for this year will be 58 years. So if you're interested, you can reach us at www.elconcilio.net. We're on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram at El Concilio Philly. And you can always call the phone number at 215-627-3100. If you have a group, if you have an idea, if you want to participate, we'll be happy to listen.
That's great. So when is you have a couple of events coming up, so you won't tell us about
Yes, so we have a series of Latino cultural events that kick off with Hispanic Fiesta, which is, again, it's going to be its 39th year at the Penn's Landing Great Plaza. It's July 11th and 12th, so it's 2 days. It's from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's free to enter. It's a family-friendly event. And luckily enough, on March 18th, we're going to have a press release and a networking event at the Cambria Hotel from 5:30 to 8 to be unveiling who our entertainment is going to be for the year. It's something that a lot of people are excited and are always excited about. Like, who's the headliner going to be? Who's gonna come and perform at the Hispanic Fiesta? So on the 18th, you're welcome to come, sir. And
I got that email.
You got the email, right?
So what is the Cambria? What is the hotel?
The Cambria Hotel is off 219 South Broad Street. It's one of these new boutique restaurants. Boutique hotels, but they actually were very gracious in sponsoring the event for the evening, so they were able to give us the space and the venue, and we're fortunate enough to partner with them. But little things like that we're bringing this year, just kind of getting people excited early on about what's going on. So that's going to happen July 11th and 12th for Fiesta, and then immediately after that in August, we do an annual senior citizens luncheon. We've always connected with our seniors in the community and brought them in, had special guest speakers for them, different activities, and just provide a good overall day for them. And this year, for the first time, we switched it up to a senior citizens prom night. So instead of lunch, we're inviting them to come out for a nice formal dinner.
Wow,
and that's going to be in our hall at Concilio's Banquet Hall at 141 East Hunting Park Avenue. So if you have any senior citizens who want to come for a free event, they can, again, call 215-627-3100 and RSP your parents, RSVP your grandparents, and they'll have a great night. We'll have live entertainment, food, giveaways, and just a good way to recognize the little senior citizens of our community. And that's at the end of August. It's August 28th, I believe. We follow that up with our annual awards gala, the Puerto Rican annual awards gala, which we highlight and honor Latinos in the community for amazing work that they do. And that is on September 12th. It's one of your formal, got to wear your tux events, and it's a fundraiser for Concilio. So obviously we're looking for donations and we're looking for sponsorships to support what we do throughout the year. And that's one way that we can raise funds, but also make sure that we're recognizing people who are doing great work in the community. So we do a Citizens of the Year award, we do a Volunteer of the Year, we do a Youth of the Year, and then we finalize that night with a Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. And it's always been something that's always been well attended, and people feel the impact and the gracious recognition of receiving an award from an agency that's so owed in the community. So it's something that we actively look for applicants to submit nominees, And that's all, again, all that information is on our website at elconcilio.net. So if you have a candidate that you want to nominate this year, we'll
Sure,
review
yeah, I have
it.
one.
Perfect.
Fernando.
We'll put them on the list. We'll put them on the list. But that's something that we really value and have part of our cultural events. And then we finalize with the annual Puerto Rican Parade, which is always the last Sunday in September. It's held at the Ben Franklin Parkway. We begin at 12:30 and it runs until it ends. But it is televised on Channel 6 AB News from 12:30 to 2, and they even stream it in Puerto Rico on WAPA. So if you have family in Puerto Rico, you can tell them to tune in, and they can potentially see you if you're a part of the parade. One of the unveilings, and I guess I'll give a sneak peek, but we are going to formally announce it on March 18th, is for the first time, we're going to be having a pre-concert before the parade. So in order to engage people, in order for them to come back out to the parade and be involved, we're going to have a concert starting at 11:30 with a high-name entertainer that we're going to unveil on the 18th. And it's going to be a free concert, and we want people to come and enjoy that and then stay for the parade and to watch all the schools participate, all the companies participate, and just have a great day with us.
Well, looking forward to this plethora of events. You're going to be busy.
We're busy, and it's been nonstop since last year. It's like once the events finished last year, it's like you take a day off and then you start planning for the next year.
I can't imagine. I know what it entails to organize just one single event. Right. You just mentioned half a dozen.
Yeah, and it's important that we continue the heritage of what these events stand for, but also that people understand that, again, they serve as fundraising events for us. When you run a nonprofit, you're always being competitive with finding funding, whether it's through your local city, state, federal grants where you have to write applications and submit proposals. But also, they don't cover everything. And more these funds are getting tighter and tighter that they miss on things that are necessary. Like they want you to write a report, but they don't want to pay for the manager who's going to write the report. Or they want to make sure that you have clean fiscal management, but they don't want to pay for the finance director who oversees the finances. Right. Or they want to make sure that you have somebody at the front desk, but they don't want to pay for that person. So, while it's not so cut and dry, like, oh, your funds, pay for extra book bags. Actually, they pay for people. They pay for human capital that does the job that the funds don't pay for, but is a very necessary part of the job.
Yeah. Yeah, when you say the human capital is very important. I always felt that way about schools. I think the teachers are the heart of the school, and let's not worry so much about the facilities and all that. Because people can labor under really not the best conditions, but it's to have a good staff, good set of teachers in the school. It's very important.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the things that all nonprofits do is we're an employer. So we hire a lot of people. You have APM here, you have Congreso and Esperanza. These people have hundreds of employees. So we're giving people an opportunity to work in their community and be a part of something bigger than them because at the end of the day, if you work a nonprofit, you're not there for the money.
That's right.
You're there for the passion of helping others. You're there for making a difference. And that's what we value. That's what we look for in employees. So, yeah, there's certain positions that require a degree, but there's other positions that we just need you to be involved and be a part of it and show that you care about the person next to you because that's what makes the difference in people's lives.
So where did you go to college?
I went to Penn State University for undergrad, and then I went to Arcadia University for my master's.
So what did you study? What field?
Health policy and administration. Yeah. So I'm kind of doing what I went to school for.
Right, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Because it used to be like English majors. You could go do any kind of job.
It's full circle for me because that's why I value our summer programs so much because I was one of those kids in those summer programs, part of Congreso and part of, back in the day, it was called Concilio, Consortium for Latino Health, where they would take kids from this neighborhood and place them downtown and take summer courses and pay them. And the field that I was in was around health education and learning about the different healthcare fields, not just your doctor and your nurse, which is what most people translate healthcare into, but the healthcare administration, the people who run the hospitals, the people who do the billing and all that. So those programs opened my eyes to the different opportunities that were out there. So that's what led me into apply for the major that I did and ultimately get a master's in health education and go right into the nonprofit world. So that's the feeling that I have about our summer camps and the changes that we make, because we're realistic. We're not gonna change everybody. We're not gonna save everybody. Once you get over that mindset in the social work field, you can make a bigger difference, because when you first start out, you say, I'm going to save everybody, and then you're just setting yourself for failure. But once you realize that those individuals who want help and want support, you're gonna grow with them, and they're going to benefit from your support.
Yeah, I mean, when you're young, you have all these ideals.
Oh, yeah. You're going to take everybody home with you, and you're going to save everybody, feed everybody.
No, well, that's what they say. They're saying that when you're young, you're crazy if you're not idealistic and liberal, you know. But if by 40 you're still idealistic and liberal, you're crazy.
You have to balance a little bit of realism in there, but you still want to have that mentality, right? But the reality is that your percentages are very low. I take it like baseball, for example, right? You can 3 out of 10 is an amazing career, right? You can have a 300 batting average and have an amazing career. That's how I feel about social services. Yeah.
Yeah, except that they usually expect you to have a higher score than just 3%. It's a political season now, and you know that's what we have to keep in mind. There are two events. I don't know how involved you are, or if Concilio is involved in this. The push to register everybody, to send their census form,
yes,
to all that.
We are census champions. We are 100% behind this initiative and what it means to the city, what it means to our community. So it's very important that when those things do come out, people fill them out. We'll be available to help, and we have staff that have been trained in being those census champions. So we definitely want to make sure that we're all accounted for.
Yeah, we have to dispel all the misunderstandings about what it means to report, because people are afraid.
Right.
So like if I give my name and address, the ICE will come and find me.
And I feel like it's never been easier than it is in this day and age to fill that application out. You can still have a certain level of disconnect where you don't have to talk to somebody directly to fill it out. You can do it online.
Exactly.
You can drop it off in different places and not have to interact with anyone. And there's different levels of it. So if you fill it out early, you'll never have to see anyone. But the longer you wait, you may get a knock on the door, you may get a call.
Yeah.
So it's in everybody's best interest to just fill it out, get it in there as early as possible, and then just move on.
But even the knock on the door, we should all dispel the notion that it also is dangerous somehow and threatening. Because it could be you or me knocking on the door. It's like, we need you to report.
Absolutely. And it's good that there's a big push for hiring people for the census temporarily, because they are hiring from within their community, so they want to see those familiar faces, so that's important. But again, they do it in layers, so if you get to the point that your door's being knocked on, is because you've probably had the census in your hand for a month or two and you still haven't filled it out.
You have not filled it out.
Right.
So if you want to avoid all these other things,
it's important. I mean, you can't stress enough about how funding is distributed by numbers, how districts are realigned if needed. So it really does have a huge impact on what this neighborhood and what this city is going to look like for the next 10 years.
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to explore that a little more in depth in terms of the information and what it means actually to register your name for the census. You're one more number, and it means dollars.
Yep.
And that's what people have to understand.
Absolutely.
So we reached the end of this segment here en Usa la Media. Les habla Fernando Mendez. Estamos en una conversación con Adonis Banegas from Concilio. Les habla Fernando Mendez. Está Niall Jax at the board. Let's see what music he has for us now.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh, man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on, man, let's split a ride home.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Señores y señores de USA la Media, la mesa redonda, estamos aquí de nuevo hablando con Adonis Banegas from Concilio. We were talking about the census and what it means in terms of money. If you know, for each person that misses, each person that is not counted, we lose $2,500. Over 10 years, that's an awful lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And
there was a perfect article that came out not too long ago, and it just gave an example of there were more Latino kids enrolled in schools than there were Latino families that completed the census. So how does that make sense?
Right,
because the kids speak for them, so the numbers speak from themselves.
Right.
And there wasn't just not enough families to match all those kids into school. So we missed a lot of opportunities there on the last census to not be counted for, and that's something that we can't continue to happen, which is why there's a huge push to make sure that your voices are heard and that they're counted for. And again, this whole idea with the Census Champions, if you're not sure, if you have any questions, I can guarantee you that all the Latino agencies have been a part of it and that they're supporting it. So even if you walk into any one of them and just have that general question, ask it, and we'll make sure to give you the right answer.
Yeah, there's plenty of information, no excuse not to do this the right way. And the other thing that worries everybody is the election. Register to vote.
Absolutely.
If you're eligible, please. This is a very important election. It might be the most important election in our lifetime right now.
And we saw what happened last time where no vote is just as bad as any vote against the other one. And that's what we saw last time, that people didn't come out to vote. And it spoke for itself. Someone else was elected by the popular vote, but the person in the electoral vote won that. And that has to do with just not being heard. And we can't let that happen again, regardless of what side you lay on. But if you want to be heard, if you want to complain about it, then you got to do something about it.
Right. Yeah, because we need to vote in overwhelming numbers, so there's no question as to the results.
Yeah.
Whichever way it goes.
And I'd say, just stay informed. There's so many media outlets out there, so much news going on, but just read up on what's going on and know what's happening in your neighborhood. I have a 16-year-old daughter myself, and I'm telling her, like, learn how to get your right information now, because not this election, but come next election, it's time for you to make your voice heard, and you got to be ready for that. And not only that, but be excited about it. This is a privilege that we have as citizens to vote and to make our voices heard. And I think people have lost sight of that, and we need to get back to that, how important it is.
For all the problems we have, we still have a democracy.
Absolutely.
Which is missing in so many countries around the world.
That's right.
Well, Adonis, this has been a quite interesting conversation.
I think a little bit everywhere, but it was good.
Time flew, and you have to come back.
No, I appreciate that.
We'll do at least another program, and at some future show, we'll announce Adonis Banegas for Congress.
There we go.
Hey, let's not stop there.
We don't stop there, right? Right. Well, thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate being a guest.
Thank you very much. And so this brings us to the end of our program today. Les habla Fernando Mendez. Now Jack's at the board has been replaced by Dylan. Hello, Dylan. And Thank you for muchas gracias por su sintonía en el día de hoy. Se despide Fernando Mendez. Hasta la próxima.